I just got fired.
I was waiting on my ex-husband.
I talked a little bit about I actually need more structure.
Welcome to The Wall. In today's video, we'll watch how a woman gets fired from her job over a sexual harassment accusation. We'll hear her side of the story and take a look at her mental state. Every like is a show of support to keep creating. Subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments. We always highlight the best one. And endless thanks to those who make this project possible with their super chat.
I just got fired at my job for sexually harassing someone. You know how many men I work with that make sexual jokes, and I happen to be a part of one, and some young kid, because I made a comment he didn't like that was not sexual, I offended him. He went to HR and said that I sexually harassed him. I won't leave him alone. I'm serious, like, I cannot make this up. I'm a single mom. I don't get child support right now. And the thing that sucks, I didn't do anything wrong. It's a dumb kid that I made a comment about his girlfriend not making his lunch. It was a joke. Mind you, this kid, who's a weirdo, by the way, always trying to be around me, always trying to talk to me. I never said anything sexual to him at all. That's number one. But I made a comment one day because we went back and forth, like joking about stuff. I made a comment about how he has this girl lunchbox, and I didn't say he was gay or anything like that. It wasn't a sexual or a derogatory thing. I just said, so who makes your lunch? Does your girlfriend make your lunch? And he goes, no. And I like made a face like I'm joking around. And he got really offended, and he goes, my girlfriend has a master's degree, and you're making it sound like her not making my lunch means that she's not adequate. And I go, whoa, because I didn't mean it that way. It was a joke. And mind you, we've been joking for like a month and a half now about different things.
Oh, boo-hoo! Let me play a sad song for you on the world's smallest violin.
Number 1. There are no friends at work and definitely no blind trust. When a woman says she was fired unfairly, you have to take it with a grain of salt. HR doesn't act without evidence, and we all know it's nearly impossible to fire a woman over sexual harassment. If that actually happened, something serious went down behind the scenes. But of course, in her version, she's always the victim and the guy is the creep or the guilty one. The irony is, this toxic work environment was created by women themselves. This is also a lesson for women. You started this in the workplace, throwing out false harassment accusations. Things have gotten so bad that men don't even want to work in teams with women anymore. In many offices, they're installing cameras or won't even sit with them in the cafeteria. They avoid being alone with them, or if they have to talk, they make sure the door stays open. All of this is happening because men don't want to face a false accusation. Just ask the guys who work with women. So I really doubt her story is the whole truth.
I was waiting on my ex-husband to be a bad person. I was truly waiting on him to do something so fucked up to me, so bad, that it would justify me ending the marriage. What up, guys? So this is V, and I'm just getting into this whole TikTok thing, social media thing, sharing my life a little bit. because I know that my journey, my transparency, my authenticity is going to help somebody in a situation that I've overcome. I also said I was going to come out with a book on how to leave a good man. You know, a lot of people that's never been in my situation won't be able to relate. And it's okay because this message ain't for you. But again, I was waiting on my husband to be a bad person. I stayed with the same person for 21 years, created a family. I was in the relationship 21 years, married 17. And I was married to a good man. I was married to a good guy, but we weren't good together. And being in a relationship where you're just not fulfilled, where you're not happy, but you are with a person that you know is good, and you're hearing the rest of the world talk about how hard it is, how there aren't any good men in the world, it will make you stay longer than you need to. Your soul is yearning for more, right? But you're stuck. And that was me for a very long time. And I had to realize that he doesn't have to be a villain in the story for me to find my happiness. He doesn't have to be a horrible person for me to realize that he is not my person. I did us both a favor. I really did. And this is coming from my heart. And it's hard because who leaves a good man? Who? But once I turned 40, guys, my happiness became non-negotiable. And I had to do what was best for me. I could not see myself dying just to stay committed to society because I was no longer committed to myself and my happiness. And I wasn't committed to the marriage anymore. You know?
God damn it! You can't make this shit up!
Women these days aren't happy with anything. They've got a guy who's financially stable, takes care of them, is a good father, and stays faithful. And still, it's not enough. When you hear her talk like that, it's usually because she wasn't into him or she was bored in bed. A man's got to be prepared nowadays, because after 10 years, the relationship can just fall apart. These women walk around with some kind of emptiness or boredom inside, and they're always looking to experiment or trade up to a different guy. Just look at how she said she was searching for a reason to leave him. In other words, she was planning her exit for years. But the guy was doing things right. So in the end, she just decided to end it anyway. That's why I don't buy it when a woman plays the victim and says the guy cheated. Because most of the time, they're the ones who push things to that point, shutting down emotionally, giving him the cold shoulder in bed, or even sleeping in separate rooms, so that the guy eventually messes up and she can walk away clean and destroy him in the divorce. Watch out for that, brothers.
Women.
I talked a little bit about getting divorced and kind of going through this. Like, you have this idea in your head, especially if it's months leading up to your divorce, of what it's going to look like. And for me, I'm going to start documenting my journey of actually healing and growing, because I just now, like a week ago, realized, oh, I'm divorced and I can create my own happiness. I can create my own life. And what does that look like? Like, I didn't even think about that when I moved here. I went crazy. I made friends really easily, went out and did things. I didn't think and sit in actually, a place where I was in the mindset of healing at all. I didn't do that. I just went straight into doing a million things and shopping, and that's not healing. You know what I mean? When I think about, what I want my life to look like, I'm like, oh, I don't really know. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, I don't really have a schedule. I don't really have structure. And I only have one kid, so for me, structure in a household is a little bit different than maybe some other moms. Just because of the simple fact that although being a mom and working and having a child, like, is a lot to manage compared to someone that just doesn't have a kid, it's not the norm. Like, it's just me and one kid. A lot of moms have, 2, 3, 4 kids, and so it's a little bit different. So structure in my household, I can get away with less, but it's not healthy. Like, I've realized that.
This is the same woman who was fired for harassment. The profile is all too familiar. Divorced, emotionally unstable, and probably with a past full of impulsive decisions. She was likely involved with some Chad who used her and left her, and ever since then, she's been stuck in the same victim narrative. It's no coincidence she's caught up in yet another conflict. This is a pattern. When a woman racks up personal and romantic failures, her work environment turns into a battlefield too. She brings her emotional chaos wherever she goes, and any boundary set with her is taken as an insult. That's why, when she says she was fired unfairly, it's hard to believe her. But let's continue.
I actually need more structure. And that's what I'm working on creating. Like, I'm gonna get a whiteboard and set out like what we're gonna eat for dinner this night, you know, like Monday through Friday. Activities that we're gonna do on my days off. You know, instead of just like winging the day, which I'm like the queen of living in the moment and kind of just doing whatever. Like, I'm that type of person, and that's actually gotten me in a lot of trouble. A lot of people are working on being that way, and for me, I've been that way for the past 30 years. I'm 30 years old, and it's actually gotten me in some trouble. So I need some more structure in my life, and so that's what I'm going to work towards. But yeah, like creating my own happiness is actually, when I think about it, it's really powerful, because I'm like, you know, I don't even know what makes me happy. I don't know, like, I play the piano, but I'm not like actively playing the piano. I could do so much more with who I am, you know what I mean? And I want to get involved in church. I think I'm gonna start going to a Catholic church in the area, and working out, and you know, like, but the idea of like creating my own life and my own happiness, and you know, building myself as a person didn't cross my mind until like recently. I just kind of like did whatever I wanted, you know, and that's not living with purpose. And I need to live with purpose. And although being a mom is living with purpose, there's just so much more that I could be doing, and so that's what I'm going to work on. I think I gave my son the best summer because I didn't work most of the summer. And so we just like went to the pool whenever we wanted.
This clearly looks like an immature woman. She says, "I've gotten into a lot of trouble. I used to be the queen of living in the moment. Now I want to go to church and find stability." What does that tell us? That she was out there riding the carousel, living it up like there was no tomorrow, dating all the chads, until she ended up married and pregnant by one who doesn't even pay child support. Now, without a job, it's probably her parents who are picking up the slack. Someone's got to cover the bills. The daddy's girl who lived the wild life now wants to settle down, most likely because her parents are putting pressure on her. She's one of those who acts first and thinks later. Now she's playing her last card, going to church to try to land a beta provider brother. That's why men of faith are starting to look into women's pasts, because the church reform has already begun.
Do you want to go shopping? Okay, let's go shopping. Go to the library. Let's go to the library. You know what I mean? I just kind of did what he wanted, which for a kid is so fun. Because when I was married, there was a lot of like, obviously I wasn't happy. So it wasn't like that, you know, so it was fun for us to be able to do that. But it's time to reel it in and time to get involved in something that is living in my purpose. And right now I know I'm not living in my purpose. And so this is the start of me documenting that journey. And I don't know what that's going to look like. But it's very important for me, because that's kind of like when you don't recognize that you have an opportunity to work on yourself and you don't take advantage of that time, you tend to fall vulnerable to things like, you know, even though I say I'm not interested in a relationship, maybe I'd be vulnerable and I would give too much attention to someone, and then I would catch feelings, and then I would find myself in a relationship. And that's not really what I want. That's not what I need. And that's not on my mind at all, but it's just like, you don't want to be idle. You don't want to be vulnerable to things like that. And that's just one example. You want to live with purpose, and that requires structure, and that requires, having goals and working towards those goals, even just small things. And that's very important. Like, it's not good to have an idle mind, and so this is the start of me working on that and working on myself, because there's a lot of work to do. Let me tell you, there's a lot. And right now, I know everything I'm saying sounds so boring, but it is exciting to think that you have an opportunity to see what you really like, and what you're good at, and just to really work on who you are as a person. And that does require community. And so you need to find a community. And like the past 2 days off work, I was very lucky. I got 2 days off in a row. I work full time. I have guaranteed full-time hours, but because I work for a big corporation, it's not always consecutive days off. And so I had the past 2 days off and I rested. And sometimes we need that, but I tend to rest a little too much. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't have plans for myself. If my son wants to go do something, I'm like, oh yeah, let's go do it. But there needs to be more planning and more goals involved, because an idle mind is not good. And I will say that over and over and over. It's not a good place to be. You really make yourself vulnerable to everything, really. And I don't want to live like that. So that's how I ended up in my last marriage.
An idle mind. Once again, they act first and think later. It's that kind of mentality. They're never satisfied with anything. We're living in a time where, to keep a relationship going with these modern women, you've got to put them on an emotional roller coaster, because they crave that dopamine hit. They don't want love. They want distractions from the inner emptiness they don't know how to fill. That's why they sabotage healthy relationships, because peace feels boring to them. TikTok has become their therapy and their confessional. They overshare, cry, dramatize, and then repeat the cycle. They're addicted to playing the victim because that's where they get the attention real men have stopped giving them. And as long as they keep confusing validation with value, the wall will keep doing its job, catching an entire generation of women who wasted their best years chasing thrills instead of building something stable. We've reached the end of the video, but before we go, the questions are for you. Do you believe this woman was fired for harassment for the reason she claims? Have you worked with women? What's the work environment like at your company? If you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. Your support means the world to us and keeps us motivated to create more content. Stay tuned for the next exciting video from the wall.